All right, now that we're done with the VE stuff for now, we're going to start talking about timing, knock sensors, how we can, you can't really tune knock sensors per se, but you can tune them. You can't desensitize them. And timing, there's a whole bunch of different theories on how and what to do with timing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what's worked for me and how I go about doing some things. And then you guys can make your own decisions from there. So the first thing we're going to do is, this is the setup that I've been using for the VE videos. So what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to go to I'm going to make a new log profile pattern, whatever you want to call it. All right. So now, all this shit right in here, it don't mean crap right now. We'll deal with that later. All right. So now we're going to come over in here. All right. And then go create our graph layout. So none of that crap matters. Now, our Spark Advance and our Spark Retard, going to wind up renaming these and then reformatting them a little bit. So I'll be right back. I'm going to do some of that work and then I'll go over it. All right, so we renamed them. All right, so what we're going to wind up doing now is I'm going to change this parameter. Go up here, show parameters only backed by channels. So now we come down here to our Spark. We got our Advance. So we're going to use our timing Advance guy. All right. So now what I'm going to wind up doing is we're going to come down to our tune. Okay, and we're going to come over here to our part throttle, column. I'm going to copy my labels, come back over here, paste them in. And you can leave it with 1,000, but I like to go down there with the 1. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm also going to go to my Spark Retard. I'm going to paste them in also. All right. So now let's go back up to our Spark. And we're going to name this Part THR. We're going to name that Part Throttle. And Spark Retard is obviously going to remain Spark Retard. All right, so now we're going to come back down to our, and then we're going to go to our row access, because these numbers here are actually different than what they use as a default. All right. So now we're going to do the same for Spark Retard. All right. So now these guys match. These tables match what we actually have over in here. So now let's come back. Now on the Spark Retard, high value is 10. It's never going to add timing, so we send it to 0. Let's change our color over here to white. And then our low value, we're going to use -10. Our mid value, let's use -5. All right. So now, when we look at this tune, go up here to our Spark Retard, and that's what we got. So let's come back. For color, we're going to use red. All right. So the average knock that it pulled out, or the average timing it pulled out to the knock, 7, 7, 8, 8. It's always the negative number that you want. That'll be the maximum. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back here to our graph layout. All right. We're going to clone part throttle, and we're going to clone spark retard. Go in here, and we're going to call this wide. Call that wide open throttle. So what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to come back down to our tune. Let's close out that table. Come back over. Get our wide open base. Now, on the NGC 3s, at manifold pressure is different for wide open throttle. So we're going to copy those labels over, come back up into here, and there you go. So now, let's go back into our graph layout. We're going to grab our second spark retard. So now we're going to call this. Gotta find a damn W. So we're going to call this one wide open retard. And change that map over. See how they match now? Our wide open throttle spark table. And then, I forgot to do this. For our wide open table, don't need to have a decimal. Don't need it. I don't think we have one on a part either. Yeah, we do. All right, so we don't need a decimal when talking spark. We need it for a couple other things. All right. So now we got those. All right, so now what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to create a new one. And now this one's going to be for our knock sensor. Come up here, grab channels that are backed. Come down here, come down there. Knock voltage. Let's get that out of the way because I always forget that. Just got to make that 4. Come down. So this is what we're going to use for our parameter. We're going to use engine. Use our RPM. I know what I'm doing. All right, so now come back down to our tune. Let's close that out. Come over here to our knock sensor. Come over here to cylinder number 1. Row access, copy labels. Come down here. Place that in. Let's close that out. We'll name them table in a little bit. So there you go. There was the average knock for this log. It was the minimum knock for this log. And there's our maximum knock voltage. Now this tune is a mess. It's an old Diablo 93 octane tune I just loaded in to play around with. We'll do some stuff with it and fix it and make it good. Now, what we're going to wind up doing now with this is we're going to filter out everything under 1 volt. All right. So Our parameter is 2607. We want everything under 1, not 0.1. There we go. Got that fixed. Let's go back up here to our average. All right, yeah, I know. I gotta do that out. So we're gonna come back up here to our average. And everything under 1 is just not there. All right. So I got some other stuff to do and then I'll be back.